Now, back in January of this year, Liverpool fans suffered what can only be described as a major terrorism incident. Jurgen Klopp announced that he'd be leaving the club at the end of the season.
The football's left him.
I will leave.
Sir, I'm going to kill myself. Now, since then, a lot of things have happened, and there's been a lot of speculation as to what Jurgen Klopp's next move would be, with rumours of straight-up retirement or, at the very least, a long break from coaching. But now he's back, and yet everyone hates him. Where exactly are people turning on Jurgen Klopp? They want his teeth. Probably. That's, for me, I'd be jealous. I can't lie. They could probably solve world peace by blinding everybody so that nobody has the capacity to get into scraps anymore. So what has happened? Well, the former Liverpool and Dortmund boss has been given a new role, having been appointed the new head of global soccer at Red Bull. Now, he said in like a statement or an interview after that after almost 25 years on the sidelines, he couldn't be more excited to get involved in a project like this. The role may have changed, but my passion for football and the people who make the game what it is has not. And he starts his new role on the 1st of January, basically New Year's Day 2025. So what's sort of fuss about, man? He's traded in coaching for a more of like a sporting director role. He's gonna oversee operations rather than oversee Takumi Minamino. And plus, on top of that, he's working for Red Bull. He's finally gonna get that energy that he was lacking.
It is that I'm energy.
Well, first of all, the job title that he now has the word soccer in it, which in itself requires a 3-year stint at Guantanamo Bay. At the end of the day, he's basically gonna be doing a role that's very similar to what Michael Edwards was doing, who of course worked at Liverpool alongside Jurgen Klopp. He was a sporting director at the Reds. This is basically the same sort of thing, but for the Red Bull umbrella of football clubs. That's RB Leipzig, Red Bull Salzburg, Red Bull New York, and then the one from Brazil, which I have right now forgotten the name of. But really, if you want to understand the outcry, and there's been a lot of outrage on social media, specifically from German football fans who are even Dortmund fans who have loved Jurgen Klopp for a long time, over a decade. Their opinion of him has changed quite drastically given this news, and what you have to take into account is the ethics of Red Bull within football and who Jurgen Klopp kind of is as a person within football too. If you ignore his hatred for the early kickoff at 12:30 on a Saturday and him screaming at fourth officials every weekend,
Fucking little bar!
Jurgen Klopp is quite a wholesome man who seemed to only really indulge in projects footballing wise that had real heart to them, and I'll explain how that makes sense. He's never going to be in charge of a team that just throws money at a project and at players constantly. He'd go to the club that romanticizes football, that wants to overthrow a team that's dominant in a certain league, or that uses its oil money, 115 charges level of spending. I mean, his managerial career started at a club where he played 300 games, become a club icon, and had retired as the club's leading goal scorer, being Mainz 05. He managed there for like 7 years, became an absolute icon at the club for the love of the game and for the love of the football club. Then, having done a good job with them, flirting between the second division and the top flight of the Bundesliga, he joined a club that probably has one of the most pure ideologies footballing-wise and most passionate fan bases probably in the entire world, in the form of Borussia Dortmund. A club that won't take shit from anybody if they're looking to make a profit at the detriment of the working people. And not only would he go there, he would perform well. He would be a success, a massive success, overthrowing Bayern Munich with a selection of just about rare 79 rated gold players on Ultimate Team. He'd win the Bundesliga twice, be the runner-up in the Champions League, and it was all done in a likeable, sort of passionate manner, with a likeable and young, exciting squad as well. The likes of a young Robert Lewandowski, you had Blazikowski. Spell both of their names back to back and your desk will start levitating. Then there were the names that wouldn't get you 148 points in Scrabble, like Nuri Sahin, Marco Reus, Mario Götze, Shinji Kagawa, a young Henrik Mkhitaryan, Matt Hummels, and so many more, before moving to Liverpool, another team with an infinitely passionate fan base, and a team that at the time deserved a whole lot better than it was getting. Certainly a lot better than Brendan Rodgers and Roy Hodgson back to back.
You know, let's not take the piss here.
And here he would win everything there was to win, with a side that had gone 30 years without winning a Premier League title. He delivered the Premier League back to Anfield. A side that had so many magical moments in the Champions League, beautiful moments like Istanbul and the comeback against AC Milan. We win the Champions League again and get to 2 finals, which we don't talk about on this channel. There'd be a League Cup, FA Cup, Club World Cup as well, all while signing slightly left field players and making them superstars rather than buying them outright. Mo Salah coming from Roma. No one would have guessed the impact that he would have had on the Premier League after that move. Virgil van Dijk and Sadio Mane, although Van Dijk was a lot of money, both coming from Southampton. The importance of Jordan Henderson, Andrew Robertson, a homegrown Trent Alexander-Arnold. Money was spent but nowhere near the net spend of Manchester City, and at the end of all of it, it, he decided to leave on his own terms. A real one, footballing wise. You know, in a world where money and a lack of loyalty seems to dominate, this was someone who was involved in football for the love of football itself. And that cannot be said for a certain increaser of E-numbers.
Fuck you.
So there's two things you need to understand for context here when it comes to Red Bull in football. First of all, Germany hates Red Bull. And no, I'm not saying they like to drink a Rockstar instead, but Germany has a much more pure vision of football than really anywhere else in the world. You have the 50+1 rule, where in essence, fans have the majority of voting rights on any topic or any issue in regards to their football club. It makes sure fans still have a level of ownership and decision-making over the issues that surround their club, whereas that obviously wouldn't be the case in the Prem. Not only that, there's a massive frowning upon of teams that kind of buy their way to success. They believe it should be earned through actual footballing ability and maybe business sense alone. So aka Wolfsburg, I think to a lesser extent Hoffenheim, both kind of earn their way through like massive sponsorship deals or just through major investment that other teams in their original divisions couldn't keep up with. Now Red Bull are the epitome of this in Germany. I'm sure you all know the story. The club was born in 2009. Lamine Yamal is older than them, and he still takes his PE kit to training.
A child. No.
There's Red Bull branding all over the gaff, even though it's actually named Rasenballsport to get around German naming laws, and generally speaking, they're one of the most hated clubs probably across all of Europe. Then there's the Austrian side with Red Bull Salzburg. Now this story is just as anti-football as the RB Leipzig one is. SV Austria Salzburg, as they were originally named, were founded back in 1933. They kind of bounce between different divisions at times, but managed to find their feet in the actual top flight of Austrian football. Until that rich history was stolen away from the supporters by the RB group. The Red Bull company, which at the time was headed by Dietrich Mateschitz, bought the club back in 2005. They changed laws, which meant that they could basically hire an entirely new set of staff, players, board members, and completely eradicate basically any sort of identity that there was at the club in terms of the personnel that worked there. Not only that, but they renamed the stadium, changed the actual club's kits, and their colours completely, moving away from like a violet sort of purple colour to a white and red sort of operation like you see now, and similar to RB Leipzig as well. Mateschitz obviously changed the name from what it was to Red Bull Salzburg, and then stated that it was a new club basically that had been founded in 2005 that had no history whatsoever. They completely erased the history of the football club. They even tried to do it on their website before the FA said that they weren't allowed to. Fans were so disillusioned, they felt that their club had been taken away from them to a point where they actually created a new Phoenix club. The two sides played each other in the cup for the first time last year, and that new club is called SV Austria Salzburg. Now Dortmund fans are naturally furious because Jurgen Klopp is now involved in kind of heading an operation that has represented German football in that way, but also basically stolen an entire football club away from a set of Austrian supporters too. And they have a right to be. Red Bull represents everything, every single thing that German football hates and that Borussia Dortmund fans stand against too. They're a massive corporation that has absolutely no care for actual footballing integrity, and to a large degree has bought all the success that they could get. And for a massive club legend like Jurgen Klopp to be going there, I can understand that it feels like a complete slap in the face. However, you know, let's be devil's advocate for a second, okay? Because there is another side to this as well. Jurgen Klopp isn't gonna be the new head of Red Bull. He's not running the whole company. He's just gonna be overseeing Red Bull Salzburg, RB Leipzig, from a sporting director and maybe even recruitment perspective. As I said, like Michael Edwards was doing for Liverpool. And what is the genuine one thing that Red Bull have been positive in introducing to their projects? It's actually signing and developing young talents. And that's probably what Jurgen's gonna be involved in. If you remove the Red Bull logos from Leipzig and Salzburg, they have consistently had some of the most exciting young talents and most exciting young squads that Europe has to offer. Leipzig's squad now has got some really good young talent that'll probably move on for big money, like Castello Luqueba. They just signed Antonio Nusa, a Norwegian youngster from the Belgian league. Xavi Simons is still on loan from PSG and is flourishing there. Benjamin Šeško is one of the most sought-after young strikers in European football right now. And Asan Ouedraogo just got signed from Schalke. Again, another young wonder kid. These are all players that are going to get nurtured and are going to become top-quality footballers that may end up going to bigger clubs than RB Leipzig, but them solely being in that environment around so many youngsters and good coaching is genuinely enhancing their careers. I mean, look at a set of players that used to play for RB Leipzig and have gone on to do great things. There's Dani Olmo, who's just signed for Barcelona after an incredible Euros campaign. Joško Gvardiol, crucial at Manchester City. City. He's going to be the best left-sided defender probably that the world has to offer. Dominic Szoboszlai and Ibu Konate at Liverpool. You've got Nkunku at Chelsea. You've got Deo Upamecano, Naby Keita, Brian Brobby. And then at Red Bull Salzburg, you've got similar things, right? The squad that they've got now has got some really good young talent that you should definitely keep an eye on and watch out for. Ivorian young striker Karim Konate was always sought after when he was back playing in the Ivory Coast. He's 20 and doing well there now. Oscar Gluck is a great attacking midfielder. Bobby Clark, a former youngster at Liverpool, has just gone over there by Jatic as well, but he's on loan. Amar Dedic and Samson Baidu, also young, quality players that could have very good careers. And again, former players from Red Bull Salzburg who've gone on to do amazing things. Obvious one, Erling Haaland at Manchester City. The best striker in the world. Gonna break every goal-scoring record there is to break. Sadio Mane.
He's the best football player in the world.
Imperative to Liverpool's golden generation recently. Karim Adeyemi just scored a hat-trick in the Champions League for Dortmund. Again, Dominic Szoboszlai, Naby Keita, Enoch Nwepu. If you're a Wolves fan, you can thank them for Matheus Cunha and Hwang Hee-chan. So many players have come through the system at Red Bull and have actually been promoted in a really ethical way, taking them through Salzburg, an Austrian Bundesliga that isn't the strongest, but does offer a decent amount of competition. Then guiding them through to RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga, again, not the strongest league in the world, but still very, very strong, and then going on and having crazy careers elsewhere. If Jurgen Klopp is solely involved in that, then I can understand why, because he kind of had that ethos of signing more left field players and younger signings or whatever, not necessarily the biggest players in the world at the time, when he was manager at Liverpool and at Dortmund too. It's obvious that from a purely recruitment perspective would interest him. However, he's read the room in Braille. It's pretty obvious, really, that German football fans and Dortmund supporters themselves are going to hate that as a move. So he's going to have to win their trust back, because I think Dortmund fans have a right, really, to be upset and annoyed with this decision. Either way, what do you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section below. And will Jurgen Klopp one day return to management when he's done with this role at Red Bull? And if he does, where does he go? Drop that down below. If you enjoyed this video, though, feel free to slap a like on it and subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. If you enjoyed the video a lot and you enjoy the content a lot, then you can become a member down below. You get early access to content and some other cool perks too. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.